What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, CamATL, and welcome back to another NFL video with your boy. This is closing out week 8. It has been a fantastic week for us. Man, basketball and football. It was an amazing week 8 NFL. Yesterday was huge. Came at the top of contest for the second weekend in a row. Also hit our 4 team parlay, so I'm just super excited about that. Just all around, everything was fantastic and excited to finish it off with a bang here. I've got a good idea of how I'm expecting this game to go, so let's go ahead and get into it. Drop a like down below because I already know you're going to love it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment anything in the comment section to enter your name into the $50 giveaway I do every week on this channel. And for NFL, the $50 giveaway winner will be announced on my next video, which I believe will be Wednesday for the first look lineup, or tomorrow, depending. One of those days we'll have the next week's video, and I will be announcing the winner. So, anyway, let's get straight into this. First and foremost, how do we think this game's going to go? All right. So, Cincinnati is a pass heavy team. All right. They like to lean on the pass predominantly. They do pass a lot. Cleveland leans on the run heavy. Now, here's the problem here is that Cleveland loves to run. They are a very run heavy team, love to lean on Nick Chubb heavily. But the Bengals have also been one of the best teams in the league versus the run this year. They're not allowing touchdowns. They're not allowing many yards. I believe they're allowing like 80 yards a game to running backs this year. They're very good, allowing some of the fewest fantasy points in the league this year to running backs. They are very, very good. They've been very good versus the run. So, with that being said, I'm thinking Cincinnati wins this, even without Jamar Chase. I think that Cleveland's defense is nowhere near Cincinnati. Cincinnati's strength is where Cleveland likes to focus. Like, Cleveland likes to focus on running the ball. Cincinnati's strength is stopping the run. If you're forcing Cleveland to air the ball out more than they want to, then that's going to cause some issues. You know what I mean? And that's going to most likely, in my opinion, lead to Cincinnati winning this game because Cincinnati's going to be able to do whatever. The Browns have been bottom in the league versus the run. So they're going to be able to get the run going, no problem. They're going to have some success with Joe Mixon between the tackles. They're going to have some success dumping the ball off to him. They're going to have success throwing the ball to T. Higgins, the Michael Thomas, who's going to be a value receiver on this slate, and also Tyler Boyd. Now, when I'm talking about that, though, Tyler Boyd is the Cincinnati receiver I'm kind of a little iffy on. Yes, Jamar Chase is out, and it's a fantastic spot. He should get some attention here for sure. And he had a big game last week. The big game last week, what's interesting to me is the big game last week could end up leading to his, and Jamar Chase being out could lead to Tyler Boyd's ownership being huge. But when you take a look at the behind the scene numbers, Cleveland has been fantastic versus slot receivers. They have actually allowed the fewest fantasy points in the league to slot receivers this season. Tyler Boyd lines up there over 80% of the time. So Tyler Boyd, while getting a bump with Jamar Chase out, has the toughest matchup on the field when it comes to that slot matchup there. So, with that being said, and all those points I just made, let's get into the core. At the captain spot, the guy that I'm going to lean on is going to be T. Higgins. With it being full point PPR over on Draftkings, with Jamar Chase being out, with Tyler Boyd having a tough slot matchup, T. Higgins is probably going to see a ton of volume here. Now, the only negative you could possibly imagine with T. Higgins is his injury, how injury prone he is. You know, it seems like every time we play T. Higgins, something happens to him. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you have to look at what the numbers are telling you. And at the end of the day, at 12K at captain, T. Higgins is an amazing value. Like I said, no Jamar Chase, pass heavy team. Tyler Boyd in the slot having a little bit of issue in one of the toughest matchups in the entire NFL will open up T. Higgins. So I think T. Higgins on the perimeter is going to have a lot of success in this game, and I don't think they're going to have any answers for him. All right? With that being said, also another focal point for me is going to be Joe Mixon on the Cincinnati side because not only is Joe Mixon going to have success in the run game when they're up, or even really no matter at any moment in this game, Joe Mixon is also a guy that I'm considering at captain as well because Joe Mixon's going to have success between the tackles against this Cleveland line that is not very good here. All right, they're giving up like over 5 yards per carry to running back. So they have not been really good versus the run. So not only is Joe Mixon going to have success there, if Cincinnati decides to come into this game and say, you know what, Jamar Chase is out, let's establish the run. Let's really run the ball. At the end of the day, though, Cincinnati is a pass heavy team, and I'm expecting them to still stick to that with Jamar Chase out, even. So, because of that, Joe Mixon is going to establish the run. He's going to have some good plays, some good breakout runs, some good long gashes in that defense. He's going to get in the end zone, and he's also going to get dump offs in the pass game as well and get utilized there because he runs a good bit of routes. He's a decent pass catching running back as well. So, I like Joe Mixon a lot here. He's one of the focal points for me. All right. Now, with that all being said, I was trying to figure out who I would be interested on the Cleveland side because you got to get somebody, right? I'm going to go Jacoby Brissett because I expect them to be behind and I expect them to realize that they're not going to be able to really rely on the run here and they're going to have to air the ball out eventually. Like I said, Cincinnati top in the league, one of the top teams in the league versus the run game. Cleveland's strength is the run. So, yes, they're going to come out and try to get the run going. But if they struggle, like they definitely could against a solid Cincinnati run D, they're going to have to start establishing the pass. They're going to have to start throwing the ball. So, Jacoby Brissett at 9-2. Brissett can move a little bit too. So I like Brissett in a playing from behind spot at home once they realize that, the run might not work as well. Now, this is still Nick Chubb and this is still Cleveland that's going to run a ton. They could still just lean on the run so much that Nick Chubb gets 30 carries and 100 yards somehow. But the matchup's not ideal there, okay? So, yes, Cleveland is a run heavy team, but I'm expecting them to have to eventually turn to the pass. So Jacoby Brissett's going to be the guy that I lean on the other side. I'm not going to go three core Cincinnati guys, even though I easily could. I'm going to run it back. I'm going to run my love for T. Higgins, Joe Mixon back with Jacoby Brissett on the other side because I'm expecting Cleveland to have to throw. All right. Nick Chubb is 10-4. Like I said, it is a tough matchup. If you want to get different, then getting Nick Chubb would be most likely getting different here. And if he does have some, I mean, he's a talented dude, and Cleveland runs the ball 45% of the time. So if they happen to have success here where other running backs really haven't, then it's an interesting spot for Nick Chubb for sure. Tyler Boyd, we talked about him. Now the price is cheap. So if you still want to go Tyler Boyd, I'm not going to hate you for it. But the matchup, just temper your expectations a little bit. Okay? Yes, Jamar is out, but the matchup is not good. Cleveland's allowing the fewest fantasy points to slot receivers. Amari Cooper, I do have some interest in. Now, the matchup's going to be tough because Awuzie could possibly shadow him. And Awuzie has been fantastic this season. But at the end of the day, Amari Cooper is such a good route runner, and they're going to move him around so much. They're going to try to get him mismatches and stuff like that. I mean, the only way they move this ball is getting Amari Cooper involved. Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones are the two guys I really have interest in. Cleveland loves to also target their tight end. And with David Njoku out, I believe, Harrison Bryant's going to see some good targets here as well. Cleveland targets their tight end like fourth most in the entire league. So you could see them really rely on their tight end a lot in this game. So Harrison Bryant's definitely interesting for me as well as a pass catcher to pair with Brissett among all my Cincinnati. I'll probably end up going the 4 Cincinnati 2 Cleveland build route. Most of the time I do lean the 4-2 route. Sometimes I'll do 3-3. But tonight I'm thinking it's 4 Cincinnati 2 Cleveland for me. But that's just what I'm thinking early on in the day. Yes, you can get kickers if you want to. You can get the Cincinnati kicker if you want. I could see Cleveland possibly stalling in the red zone. If they're not able to get the run going in the red zone, I could see them stalling and having to kick a lot of field goals. Mike Thomas is probably the best value on the entire slate at 1,200 with no Jamar Chase. Mike Thomas is going to be the other outside receiver for Cincinnati. And like we said, Tyler Boyd facing the fewest fantasy points allowed against in the slot is going to open up the perimeter for T. Higgins and Mike Thomas. So Mike Thomas I really, really love. He's one of the focal points for me at 1,200. Um, I mean, I could consider the Bengals defense even today because, like I said, Cleveland's strong suit's probably going to be negated by Bengals defensive strength. But we'll see. What else do I want to talk about? I pretty much touched on really the guys that you should have interest in this one. I mean, the strategy here is obviously take advantage of Higgins, Michael Thomas on the outsides with no Jamar Chase. Take advantage of T. Higgins and Michael Thomas, who are going to get big benefits on the outside against Cleveland cornerbacks, whereas Tyler Boyd's got the toughest matchup on the Cincinnati team in the slot. And that should open those other guys out up on the outside. Plus, T. Higgins is a big body receiver that Joe Burrow could look to often in the red zone. Joe Mixon is a focal point as well. And running it back on the other side with Jacoby Brissett because Cleveland's got to move the ball somehow. And if they're struggling on the run game against one of the league's best run defenses, they're gonna have to rely on the pass. So I'm leaning Jacoby Brissett as my main guy. If you want to save some money, go down from Brissett to his pass catcher like Amari Cooper or something. But also remember what I said. Amari Cooper might be shadowed by Awuzie, who has been fantastic this season. They're still going to move him around and get him opportunities. And Amari Cooper's probably the best route running receiver in the league, so he's going to get open. He also gets like 50% of his wider team's wide receiver targets in general. Like he is the by far heaviest targeted wide receiver on this Cleveland team. So they're going to target Amari Cooper. Now, because of that matchup, if Awuzie is shadowing him, that's really going to open up Donovan Peoples-Jones for a big game here at 5K. All right, so also consider that, and also consider the tight end Harrison Bryant with no Njoku, if he is in fact out. I can't remember. I can make sure real quick. Hold on one second. Let me verify that Njoku is in fact out. I believe Njoku's out. Let me remind myself though real quick. Okay. All right, David Njoku. Yeah, David Njoku will miss. So David Njoku's been pretty highly targeted as well. And like I've said earlier, Cleveland targets when it comes to who they target in their offense, they target their tight ends fourth most in the entire NFL. So when they're trying to move the ball, they really focus on their tight ends. With Amari Cooper possibly being shadowed by Awuzie, expect Harrison Bryant to be a big part of this. Remember, I'm saying this right now because I'm gonna sound like a genius after Harrison Bryant catches like 2 TDs tonight. But anyways, no. But yeah, no, seriously. When it comes to the matchup and you really break this game down, that's where that strength's gonna be. Harrison Bryant could definitely see a lot of work here. So I definitely like Harrison Bryant. And that's about it, y'all. Hayden Hurst definitely has some interest as well. With Tyler Boyd having that tough matchup, Hayden Hurst is also going to get some openings. So he's a fine option, and Jamar Chase being out is a bump to everyone on that Cincinnati receiving core. So Hayden Hurst is a 5-2, a guy that you can get exposure to that Cincinnati team with no Jamar Chase, that uptick in target share. You can get that at 5-2 with him, so that's fine. I probably prefer, because I also love Joe Burrow. Obviously, you want to try to get some Joe Burrow and all that. So I probably prefer pairing Brissett up with like a Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's going to have the better matchup of the Cleveland guys, personally. Um, so I'm either pairing Brissett up with Peoples-Jones or Harrison Bryant, probably. Kareem Hunt is sneaky because, once they're behind, they could end up wanting to really throw the ball a good bit. So Kareem Hunt might end up getting some good targets. We know that he's their pass catching running back. But yeah, Jacoby Brissett paired up with Harrison Bryant, Donovan Peoples-Jones, playing the main studs on the Cincinnati side, and you're probably going to get a takedown. So thank you guys for watching me as always. Y'all have a fantastic Monday night. The first look lineup for Week 9 will be coming out probably Wednesday, I would imagine. And let's just keep getting this money, y'all, man. Fantastic Week 8 came at the top of contests once again. Not only smashed NFL, but smashed NBA last night too. So excited to just keep this heat going, man. Y'all have a fantastic night. Be safe out there, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.